That's going to be a new bit, isn't
So
it?
Nathan,
Sure does.
What's your volume going to be?
What is my volume going to be? I don't know. Probably something like this, talking. Just generally discussion level, but also a little
we're
more
out-
bright and exuberant because we are podcasting. You know, that kind
You
of
know.
thing.
You know how it is.
You
know how it is.
You know.
You know.
You
Has
know.
Andrew been exposed to this yet? No. Well, that and the whole penguins in the desert. We're not
Yes,
doing
we...
that
Bryant mentioned it to him while they were talking on the phone on the way back from Duluth, and Andrew wanted nothing to do with it.
right? Nice.
Which, fair.
Sure does.
Totally fair.
Sure does.
Pretty low risk. True. I am out of practice just trying to get us all dialed in here because we'll talk in our normal volume and then we'll get excited and start yelling, which is pretty normal.
Sure does.
It sure
Indeed.
does.
You can always edit down those chunks.
Well,
in the
it's-
Audacity.
when the microphone is maxed out, there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately.
You can squish it a
can't-
lot.
You can squish it a lot, but it's still going to be like,
You can't do much to a clip that clipped.
yeah, exactly. But I think we are in a good range, so we don't even have to clap or anything. We can just kind of
Wow.
We can just go.
We can just go.
We're
without
all
thinking.
here.
Look at us.
Everyone is here. Like,
Everyone is here. After all these years.
Sure is.
Sure
sure
does.
does.
sure
Yeah.
does.
Sure
well,
does.
We're not dead. We're
No.
not. We're
In fact, we are alive.
we are surely
And
alive.
honestly-
Living on the outside, roaring like a lion.
Yep.
Although all two listeners of our podcast know we're alive because
And
they
what
know
we've
us
been up to.
personally.
Yeah. For the most part.
But hey, we're trying
That
to get
or
back
they've
to
been
it.
watching us on the Twitch streams, so thanks for doing that. We have been continuing to do that.
There has been content in the absence of the podcast.
Yes, we've been
We
producing.
would never
content.
allow there to be a deficit of content.
Never.
TM.
ever once, especially
Not
not while moving.
Nope. There will be none of that.
The move is complete. We're in a new location. We talked all that talk about, starting video podcasts and stuff, but today,
But now I am not doing it.
yeah,
Well,
for now, it
It's-
doesn't
For now.
look particularly great. We're in a corner of our apartment in the main living area because my room is tiny. If you've been watching the stream,
the room is it's like the same size as mine, but everything you have is bigger.
yeah. Let's see. I think last time we spoke to people on the podcast, it was Thanksgiving time, Thanksgiving break, and Riley was. I don't even think you were here yet for that. Were you? Or maybe you
thought
were.
we were.
I was
here.
in Milwaukee
Oh,
calling in from my phone
yeah.
over
yeah.
Discord.
That was a
That
time.
was the last time we did an episode.
Yeah.
Good
But
times.
but
We
hey,
didn't talk about
we're here in our new apartments. We're still in Fargo. All that.
I'm
good
not in this apartment.
stuff. Well, you're currently in this.
I am in the
We're physically
apartment.
in the
Visiting
space
as
of
But
the
a
I
guest.
am not a member of. I am not. You do not grant me the rank of apartment.
You're
apartment.
in this apartment, but
You're-
I don't. You're
we don't
not
grant you-
granted the rank of roommate.
Yeah, not granted the rank of roommate. You are not. You are not on the lease, young Skywalker.
Take a seat.
Yeah.
It's
But yeah,
outrageous.
Riley
It's
is
unfair.
in Moorhead for summer activities
Sure
as a home
does.
base, I suppose. You're off
Yes.
and about.
Yeah, because I'm being a bit of all over this summer.
You're gonna
Yep.
be in my home parish this week.
I am going to be in your home
helping out with
parish this
services and
Ooh.
doing stuff.
and telling people to think about their vocation.
Become
Because
priest.
that's my ministry this summer, vocation promotion. So
There you go.
think about what your vocation is. What does God want you to do with your life?
And more than think about it, pray about it.
And if you
Pray
hear
about
white
it,
noise in the
do it,
background,
Talk to someone about it.
oh, I was not when you're praying to God,
Do
but
it.
if you hear white noise in the background, that's our air conditioner.
Or-
Shouldn't be
Or
too bad.
Andrew playing Tears of the Kingdom.
That too.
Which is so far so good.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid it as much as possible. Try to go into it fresh.
But I am greatly enjoying it. It's like pretty much what I expected and would have wanted from a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like it's Breath of the Wild 2 in every sense imaginable.
Like Portal 2.
In a kind of a Portal 2 way where
It
it's-
added good things.
yes, and refined even some things that didn't work as well. There's some things that they didn't fix all the way, or things that could have fixed further. But it's like, yeah, they were working on other things, getting those right.
Yeah.
It's like it occurred to me that you know how you have some games like like your Sea of Thieves or your Genshin Impact that are like these ongoing service games.
Live service games
that have
yeah.
like added content incrementally over like 6 years or whatever. Tears of the Kingdom is kind of feels like what Breath of the Wild would have become if it was that model.
Yeah.
Like this would have been the
Instead of releasing that content over 6 years, they just waited 6 years and released all of it.
And then thinking about that occurred to me. Sea of Thieves and Genshin Impact could have been a trilogy at this point.
Was it 5 years?
Between 2017 and 2023, that's 6 years.
Oh, that is 6 years. Okay. Wow. Time it do fry. I always get mixed up because I played it in 2018.
Right.
It was still pretty new.
Well, it was like a year old, 2018.
Yeah.
It was a launch title for the Switch, which came out in 2017.
But I played it on Wii U because that's the copy
I played it
you
on
had.
Wii U because that's what I got, right. I didn't get a Switch until Smash Bros. Came out, and that was late 2018. But I got a Wii U because I'm like, I can play Wii games on it, and it's also got the eShop. I didn't use that much, and now it's dead. So you can't buy things on your Wii U eShop anymore.
Oh. Same thing with the
Sag.
Wiiverse or the Miiverse.
It's kind of like the Miiverse, but like
Went
the
the way
Miiverse
of the
died
Miiverse,
first.
yeah.
It went the way of the Miiverse.
And the Miiverse, frankly, should have gotten the death penalty.
Although now I'm kind of
Died of
waiting for
natural causes.
I want Mii's on the Switch.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
There are Mii's on the Switch. You can make them, but
You
they're
can
like,
pay $60 for the right to make them.
There's the
No,
Switch.
no,
And
no.
use them in Miitopia.
No, they are.
Oh,
They're in
yeah.
the base Switch. You can
Are
make
they?
Mii's in the Switch. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. I didn't know
I didn't know that either.
They're just buried in menus because they're like less part of the Nintendo branding these days. But
You gotta bury it in the
they're
menus.
there, and they're you can make Mii fighters in Smash Bros. And in fact, the Miitopias use the Mii's on your Switch as a base to further gussy them up with the clothes and the hair.
Getting
and
all
such.
gussied up. Yeah.
Indeed.
Gusset.
But it's, the Mii's have like fallen out of Nintendo's branding favor
Yeah.
recently.
I don't know
like,
why.
They had so much character and personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just their song was instantly iconic.
Yeah.
But then again, they were a product of the Wii era, and the Wii was very much like, you know what? We're not gonna get gamers with our cheap console with not even HD graphics or
It's
anything
like, no,
and
the
wiggle waggle
Switch, the
controls.
Switch is not a Wii boy. That sounds weird. Don't say that.
But the point is, like, Wii was aimed at your grandma and your mom who wanted to play Wii Fit and exactly.
That's coming out of the episode. Anyway, move
Oh,
on.
is it? But the Switch is like, no, this is actually serious gaming again. We're putting proper.
I swear that didn't occur to me until after it left my mouth.
It didn't, but that's why it's fun.
I do that all
Anyway.
the
that.
time.
You'll never know what it was.
You'll never
Yeah,
know because he
you'll never
totally
know.
cut it out.
Well, it's like the other day at softball where I was like, yeah, the wind's in the right direction. You know, it's great weather for hitting balls. And I was like, I'm trying to find a way to say that where it doesn't sound bad. But I couldn't.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Palladium Papist. I'm James.
I am Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
Let's see. Something that also came out, I think, in 2017, or was it? No, it was 2016.
2016.
Okay. We're having a philosophical at long last about La La Land.
In a world where one man will decide whether to pull a lever and kill one man, or not pull a lever and allow 5 people to die, find out in Philosophical.
Philosophical about films. La La Land, which is, of course, as everyone knows, the French for the land.
The land.
The land.
Riley has seen it. Nathan and I just watched it
Yeah, we
last
just
night.
watched it last night.
So
Had
some
a little
pretty-
bit of time to mull it over and like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe that's what the themes are. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we'll get
get
down
into it.
down.
We'll
down
get
to
into
business.
it.
We'll get
Well, you
right-
guys have seen it the most recently,
That
so
is true.
you guys give us the synopsis. I only
Yeah.
watched it like a week and a half ago. So.
Oh, okay.
For the third time.
Okay. La La Land. Essentially, you have Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling play these two like in their, I don't know, early mid-20s.
Early mid-20s, yeah, something like that.
They're working their way into Los Angeles, and it's a musical kind of.
It's a musical.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a
That's-
musical.
That's relevant.
So they start out. They're both stuck in traffic. They first meet when they're both stuck in traffic in L.A. and they flip each other
And
off
they're enduring a large and zany musical number on
on the
stopped
bridge.
highway traffic.
Yep.
As you do in the
As one
whimsical
does.
musicals.
As one
Everyone's
does.
wearing bright colors, and there's just a drum quartet in the back of a trailer, like you do. It's a very fun opening musical number and all that
Like,
good stuff.
it very sets the mood and what it's trying to go for.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. Anyway,
Plot-wise.
So Mia, played by Emma Stone, and Ryan Gosling's character
Sebastian.
is Sebastian. Mia is a coffee shop barista at a coffee shop that's basically right off of like one of the
It's
major
on the
Hollywood
block
studio.
of the Warner Brothers.
The Warner Brothers lot,
shooting. Yeah. So
which is set up to like more like it would have been like in the 1960s or 70s or something. It's
Mhm.
like all the different sets going on at once. It's like if you watch Singing in the Rain, this movie is very much an homage to that. But anyhow, she's not particularly good at it, and she's been trying to do auditions and get roles in acting because she wants to be an actress, like a lot of young ladies in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, Sebastian, he wants to start his own jazz club someday. He's a talented jazz pianist.
he's a starving artist.
He's a starving artist. Yeah, he's struggling to pay the bills. His sister's chewing him out and trying to get him to get his life together.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of let's see.
They have a couple times where they run into each other.
Yep.
Both of them are very dissatisfied with their lives because they're
Yep.
not going the direction they want them to, because turns out following your dreams in a saturated market in Los Angeles is tough.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Yep. Gosh, we're gonna have to explain that at some
We
point.
will.
Well, no.
We
Well,
will
no.
not.
Yeah.
Well,
For
yes.
those,
Let's explain
we'll get
the
to that
movie.
later.
Let's explain the movie first.
It'll be a little game. It's like in the newspaper. It's like, okay, here's a riddle for this week. Next week we'll give you the answer. So that's what we're gonna do on the podcast. Next episode, however long it takes us,
But it's
will be
it's-
however
it's-
long it takes you to figure it out. So anyhow, so Mia goes to this party. Her friends really wanted her to go because like, oh, you can network with people and maybe
Someone
get
in
a
the crowd
connection.
could take you where you want to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone could finally lift you off the ground.
Yep. And she does get lifted off the ground, and both literally and thematically. But anyway, eventually, she goes there. She doesn't really hit it off with anyone. She's just kind of not into it. So she leaves the party.
She escapes from an aspiring writer, wearing
talking about the three little
a
pigs.
suit coat and shorts.
Yep.
My kind of vibe.
Yep. He's talking about the three little
And
pigs. He's
using, importantly, Sebastian as an escape route,
yep.
Yes.
pretending like they know each other.
Right. And so they're
Well, this is a different party.
That is a
like
different
the first,
party,
The
but-
first party, she leaves. She's
first
wandering
couple-
around Los Angeles because her car got towed, and she wanders into a
Yes.
nice restaurant where Sebastian happens to be playing piano. It's Christmas time, so he's playing basic
just jingle
Christmas
bells
carols
deck the halls.
for Whiplash.
J.K. Simmons.
For J.K. Simmons and a little Whiplash cameo there in another jazz movie.
Then in a very another
she
in the
she
spirit of
sees there's like a little spotlight around him. He's playing the piano. She's like, "Oh wow, you're so cool. I'm sorry I flipped you off on the highway."
but
sort
also
of thing.
he's very passionately going off script because he's a musician. He's
He's a
artist.
musician,
And
and
then J. Jonah Jameson doesn't appreciate that.
he
and
fires him because he didn't give him pictures of Spider-Man. And so he's storming out of the joint. She's rolling up the joint, and she's like, "Hey, I heard you play," and he just sort of brushes past her rudely. So cut to the summertime. She's at a pool party, listening to the boring screenwriter. One of my favorite lines in the movie is like, there's three little pigs. I mean, there could have been a fourth pig. We don't know. It's like, that's so funny. It's just like these sort of nonsensical, inane like script ideas that I'm sure every writer in Hollywood has throwing around. But who's playing in a gig with an 80s
tribute band
tribute band, but Mr.
and hating every
Sebastian.
moment of it.
Hating every
Mr.
moment
I'm
of
a
it.
serious musician, Sebastian.
Yep. Playing synth music and
Playing
Mia
Ayn
notices-
Rand.
Yeah. Mia
Ayn
notices him-
Rand.
Ayn
Ayn Rand so far away.
which Mia requests as sort of a dig directly at him, and he, point taken. So they chat a bit and sort of passive aggressively.
Like,
And then-
I'm an artist. Well, I'm an actress. Well, no, you're not. Well, no, you're not.
Mhm.
And so
They're walking back. He's escorting her back to her car because, like the whole thing where she was trying to get out of a conversation with a boring screenwriter like the rest of us, in our daily lives. And they have sort of a moment where they're kind of walking together. It's like, man,
It's not like I like you or anything.
it's not like I like you or
No.
anything, but it's really nice out. So let's dance a little bit.
Also, I'm gonna change my shoe into my comfortable shoes. I have in my bag. Also, they're tap shoes.
Yep.
She takes off her heels and changes into tap shoes.
Yep.
Great.
Which is great. So they have a little dance number. It's like, what a waste of a lovely night. Like if we were in love, this would be perfect.
But we're not in love.
But we're if we were in love, which
we're
we're
not.
certainly
We're
not.
We wouldn't be dancing to music.
JK, unless. So
What if we kissed floating in space?
yeah,
JK.
we'll get there.
Unless.
So after that, they part ways. I'm trying to remember what happens next after this.
They meet. He shows up at the coffee shop,
Oh, that's right.
and he's like, "Hey, I don't know." They just meet more times.
Yeah,
They
hang out.
explain Mia's love of movies because as she was a young lass, she went with her aunt to the library across
Oh,
the
yep.
street and watched all these old movies like Casablanca and
Yep. And
Like
so
the golden age of film.
he's giving
Right.
her. She's giving Sebastian a little tour of the the Warner Brothers lot, and saying, "Hey, that's where Humphrey Bogart did this, that, and the other thing."
Basically, she's giving him the. This is why I love acting, and then he's like,
like-
"Well, I love music. I love jazz." She's like, "Oh, jazz."
oh,
is
by
like
the way,
jazz?
I hate jazz.
Yep.
And she's like, "What?
You don't
You're not
understand-
allowed to hate jazz.
You don't.
You're gonna
understand
come
what-
listen to jazz
you
right
don't
now."
understand what jazz is.
And then he goes to a jazz club and explains what jazz is, and it's like it's chaotic, it's creative,
It's conflict and back and forth, and dogs and cats living together, pure insanity.
It's like he explains why he's passionate about it and how everyone else is listening to the wrong jazz the wrong way.
Yeah.
Elevator music's dumb. It's like I know elevator music's dumb, but that's not the good jazz.
So they.
So they basically bond over their love.
She already
of-
has a boyfriend at this point, but he's like, "Hey, there's a old movie theater that's playing old movies on whatever night. You want to join me for that?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And then she forgot that she double booked with the thing with her boyfriend and his
Slickback
brother.
McGee.
Yeah, it was like and his brother, and it's like they're just talking about really fake corporate BS, And she's like, she hears a song over the radio that she heard Sebastian playing.
But she looks and it's not a live performance. It's actually a
Playing
speaker.
on the
And
speaker,
she's like,
yeah.
you know what? I get it. And so she's like,
She's
no,
like-
I'm gonna go watch a movie now.
She
Bye,
pulls a
guys."
Mary Jane, except for in this case, not from the wedding, but she leaves and goes to the theater and joins Ryan Gosling.
Which is funny. You say she's pulling a Mary Jane, given how she plays
Gwen
Gwen
Stacy.
Stacy in
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep. And so basically from that point, they have a good time at the movie theater, and
And then the
they
movie
start
theater breaks down.
dating. Yep. Movie theater.
And they
breaks
go
down.
and recreate shot for shot this whole scene from this old movie.
Yep. They
and
go. To the
they go
observatory.
dance in space in the planetarium.
Mhm. It's all.
It's all very nice.
Yeah, it's all very nice. And unlike the hit video game GTA 5, they don't get into a shootout with the FBI on that location. Spoiler alert. For La La Land.
Spoiler alert: La La Land doesn't feature a gunfight with the LAPD
At any point.
at any point whatsoever. Now imagine a musical action movie, which is like guns, and there is a shootout, but they're both singing and dancing to the shootout.
That's going to happen at some point.
So
I
like
guarantee
Baby
it.
Driver.
Like
Yeah,
Baby
but
Driver,
a
they don't
musical.
really sing.
but a Right.
Anyway,
But a musical.
anyway, back to
back
to La La
back
Land.
to reality.
So they're happy, they're in love, they're dating, they're going and doing different fun things. They're hanging out at jazz clubs, and there's
Like
this one in particular, Sebastian's playing with this jazz band he really likes, and things are going great until John Legend shows up and is like, "Hey man, I want
Keith.
you to play in my band." Keith. Well, what
Look
kind of
out
name
for
is that?
Keith.
Look out for Keith. That's not scary, and I'm ashamed to say it. Oh, look out for
Boris,
Keith.
try that.
Yeah.
Keith.
Anyway, he shows up and he's like, "Oh, this guy's bad news." He's like, "Hey, I've got this cool gig. It'll pay you a lot of money." And he's like, "I don't want to do it. I don't like you because you're creatively bankrupt."
And
And
Emma Stone's like,
I
but
don't know,
it's
it's
a
a
lot of
steady
money
job.
and it's a steady job and it's also, you know,
it'd be good for you.
All of that passively through talking to her mom over the phone.
Yep.
None of that is ever directly said to him,
Yep.
which matters.
Yeah. All she really says, like when he says, "No, I'm not gonna take his offer," all she really says is, "Why not?" So
and then he's like, you know what? Why not? I'll sign on the dotted line and sell my soul
he
to the
joins the-
Jazz Devil.
yeah, which is Keith. Keith.
They like
gives
Keith
him-
Eam.
It's like, you're stuck in the past. Your love for like the jazz, which is all meant about disrupting and creating new things. You're stuck ironically stuck in a past
Stuck to
version of it.
tradition.
Stuck to tradition.
When the greats of jazz
We're all
threw off
innovators.
tradition
Mm-hmm.
and innovated.
And in true 2016 fashion, their music indeed brutally butchers elements of a class
Of classic.
classic.
I mean, it starts with a cool jazz bass line and jazz piano, but then they add like
It just
you know,
goes straight into a pop song.
Yep.
Because John Legend. That is John Legend in the movie.
It is John Legend.
Okay, that's what I
yes.
thought.
With some very interesting lyrics that we'll pull apart later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
he's doing that. He's touring everywhere. Meanwhile,
symbolically, Mia is in the crowd, and Sebastian's playing like this weird synth thing, and they call back to the earlier scene where he was hating his job in the '80s band playing synth music. He's doing it again, rocking out. People love him, but she's getting kind of
pushed back by the crowd, pushing forward.
So there's a distance gap growing between them.
Also, at the same time, Mia is like, none of the plays or shows will hire me. And like earlier, there was a conversation. Was like, well, write your own play. Well,
She's
you
like, okay.
used to write plays and perform them with your mom.
I'm gonna write it with her aunt,
With her
who
aunt, yeah.
died. I'm gonna do this black box theater thing where it's just me. I'm the only actress, and it's about me going to L.A. and all that good stuff. So she writes this play with Sebastian supporting her, of course, but he's tired. He's on tour a lot, and they have sort of a fight over the dinner table, and he tries to surprise her with dinner because he's back in town briefly. And she's like, "Well, how long are you going to be touring?" He's like, "Well, for the long haul." And they have this fight about their direction. She's going, "You used to have dreams. You used to want to open your own club, and now I'm sitting here and you're burning the spaghetti." Or whatever that popovers or whatever he was making in the oven. So they have a little bit of a spat, but she goes and does her play, and he misses it because of a photo shoot. Not very many people show up to her play. And she's upset with him because this is her last thing that she wanted to do, and she put her heart into it, and it was crushed, and people didn't appreciate it.
Now she's going home to Boulder, Colorado, or
Boulder
Nevada.
City, Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah. So
It
she
was a
goes
different
home
Boulder. My bad.
because she's mad, and then Sebastian gets a call. I think she left her phone or something at his apartment, and a producer lady from a big movie studio happened to be at Mia's play and really liked it, and so they wanted to audition for a very specific role they thought she'd be good for. So Sebastian goes off to her hometown, and
Finds the house across from the library.
because that's where she said she grew up, and so he's like, "Hey, you got this call for an audition. You should really try it out. This could be your big break." And she's like, "I'm emotionally done with this. It's broken me too much." And he's like, "What? What is wrong with you?
Dreams.
You used to have dreams. You wanted to make it big and be an actress. Now you're sitting here in your front lawn burning spaghetti." So he's like, "All right, well, we're gonna drive back to LA in the morning. I'll pick you up. Whether
I'm going back at 8, whether
Yep.
you're there or not.
and so
She sings her audition and gets the part, and it's like, oh, we're filming in Paris, by the way.
our lives are going in completely different directions because we're both having success in different ways."
Okay, love you, bye.
Yeah, pretty much. So they part ways. 5 years later, Mia's a successful actress. She's married this different guy. They have a little
Another
they have a
slick
daughter.
back McGee.
Yeah. They have a daughter, and they're like, "Okay, well, I'm back in town after this big movie shoot thing. Let's go on a date night together." And so they go around. And meanwhile, Sebastian finally, he took all that success and money he had and started his jazz club where they're gonna play pure jazz. And so they by happenstance, Mia and her husband end up in this place, and they see in sort of a callback to the beginning of the movie, actually a pretty direct callback to the beginning of the movie. They literally
They literally,
go back to the beginning of the movie.
it's the whole sequence.
They wander in, and she sees him playing his piano piece that he was playing.
Their
Piano piece, yeah.
That he was writing at the very beginning of the movie. That he finished with her in the middle of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole
And now she's playing their song. Nothing about a screen door in there whatsoever.
But then there's this whole dream sequence in the middle.
Yeah.
Where, at the beginning when he got up and brushed past her like a jerk because his boss fired him and stuff, What if that didn't happen?
What if he just like?
What if they just
What if
killed
we
right
didn't
then
make
and there?
every mistake that we ever made? What
Yep.
if everything that could have been great was great?
What if we made all the effort to make things work and work around each other's dreams so that we could both achieve a better life together? And so it
And
kinda
not be
goes-
so stubbornly stupid about the most minute and inconsequential things.
Yep. And so there is like what could have been. They instead of her marrying this other guy, they're married and they have a son together and they're in this nice house and then they go to a jazz club and
Share a
somebody
knowing look and stuff.
yeah. And then it brings everything back to reality as he finishes the piano piece.
Back
and they're
to
like,
reality.
yeah. Oh, there goes
Goes
gravity.
gravity.
Well, that was earlier. In
That
the
was
movie.
earlier in the movie.
And so they sort of, as she gets up to leave, she and Sebastian make eye contact and they sort of acknowledge to each other, like, well, life could
both
have been
smile.
different,
But we
hey,
have made decisions.
we've made decisions and we're going to live with them. So then they part ways once again. And the movie
That's-
ends.
That's the end of the movie.
So that's
the
sort of a
synopsis.
nutshell-ish La La Land.
There's cool stuff we were going to dig into, obviously, because there's a lot of like little things that come up
There's
here.
a lot of detail in this movie.
So where would we like to begin? Who wants to kick off the cool things?
I don't know. There's so much I could
Yeah,
gush
I
about
think
in this
Riley
movie.
being the resident jazz aficionado.
And the resident have researched the crap out of this movie
Oh,
because
sure.
I found it fascinating.
Yeah. I was like, it honestly had me hooked all the way through.
I don't know why it didn't quite manage to hook me. I watched it and it's like, it's good, it's interesting, and having thought about it, it's like, that's why it's good. Maybe I need to watch it again for it to really have an effect. But I don't know. Whatever it was, it didn't like grab me. And it's like, from when it first came out, I heard it was either you loved it and it was the greatest movie ever, or it was people thought it was pretentious and full of itself.
I don't really understand.
It's kind of
because they don't get jazz. They're burning the
They don't
spaghetti.
You used to have dreams.
You used to have dreams. You used to want to listen to jazz.
There's your title. You used to have dreams.
You used to have dreams.
You used to have dreams and spaghetti.
Yeah.
Now you don't.
Burning the spaghetti. Anyway.
The biggest, like, having finished the movie, when we got into that, like, fantasy bit at the end, I'm like, what is the point this is trying to make? What point are they making? How life could have been better if they had made all the right decisions? Like, obviously. Then what about their lives now? Are their lives now bad? They look at each other and they smile and they part ways. No. Their lives currently aren't bad. Their lives are actually
They both
pretty
achieve
good,
their dreams, but in
but
different
not quite
ways.
how they initially envisioned.
Yep.
Like, I think the theme of this film is you can follow your dreams, but temper them with reality. There's also like kind of a redemption to it. There's like you can fail at your dream, but find it in a different way. There's like I don't know. There's a couple different ways.
There's a lot of room for interpretation, but the key hermeneutic, I think, is found in the title.
La
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 Land.
Land.
La La Land.
It's a
Yep.
fantasy.
It's a
It's
fantasy.
all
it's a-
freaking nonsense.
yeah.
This movie is a sharp, scathing critique of the nonsense that is Los
Hollywood
Angeles.
and Los Angeles.
Oh yes.
And it's just like, if you take a few steps back from everything that's going on, this is all ridiculous. Like,
Mhm.
these are the most...
People
just
don't
like-
have musical numbers on
Well,
freeways.
that's part of the point. They are in... Like, Damien Chazelle has said they are self-aware that they're in a musical. Like,
Yeah.
the characters that are in the musical are aware that they're in a musical.
Yep.
And so they just, like...
That's why her change of clothes was tap shoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I figured like
That's great.
this movie was. Yeah, I sort of picked up on the self.
And at the same time, it manages to be a celebration of the genuine good that is found there. There's like,
yeah.
there's something really powerful and drawing about this experience.
There's
And
some-
it's like, there's something worth having in all of this. Like, to be drawn by things, to be moved by things is important, and that's really
like a
human.
dream worth achieving.
Right.
Is worth achieving.
Mhm.
But also there's a sense of just like you're not always going to get your dream.
Yeah.
It's not
And the dreams,
some
what
of the
insofar as you achieve them, you have to sacrifice things.
Yeah.
yes.
And like the point of that whole epilogue sequence is like, we could have done different, but we
If
couldn't
we
have
knew
done better.
Yeah, like hindsight's 2020.
Like, yeah, like that's
Well,
just
it's
life.
2023 now.
Well,
so.
yeah.
Hindsight is 2022 because we're in
Yep.
2022. But it's like, yeah, there's just, it presents, it's just like, here it is. Here's life. I don't have an answer for you. Like, you got to make of this what you will. Like, is this worth it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Is what you really want to follow your dreams and pursue something that you're deeply passionate about
Mhm.
at the cost of the love of your life, because that's what it
Yeah.
is for Mia.
Yeah.
She sacrifices. She says to him that, like,
I'll always love
and that's
you.
I'll always love you. She sacrifices her greatest love to follow her dream, and it just like puts in front of you this question of what's the relationship between dreams and love? Like,
Yep.
where do those things interplay? What's really
Is it like,
what is the true, like, what's the best thing to pursue? What is
putting
the genuine
yourself over
desire?
the other, or
And it provides no answers.
no?
Yeah.
It's like, this is just a real life. This is real. Like, you got to make of this what you will.
It happens to people all the time in different ways. Yeah, one part of the movie, as a creative person with dreams, this movie hit pretty hard. I was like, man, that, like, the whole aspect of, like, you know, wanting to create and do cool things. You know, I want to make movies.
Used to have dreams, James.
And then the, especially Sebastian's part where he has to, like, settle for something he is overqualified for and sort of toil away at it to pay the bills, even though it's not exactly what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% get that.
And he's, in fact, selling out to the very
Yeah.
thing he hates.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not quite there, but yeah, like that aspect
Right.
of having to compromise your dreams
Your
to
artistic
pay the bills.
vision, your
Yeah.
ideal.
That part very much resonated with me.
Also, one thing I kind of think is interesting, like the whole theming is the musical, right?
Yep.
And so the whole theming is also like these Hollywood dreams, and like the old school musical, like you're singing in the rain, you're
They're wearing bright colors and there's
Well,
choreographed dance
it
numbers.
glorifies the image of old school Hollywood, which old school Hollywood doesn't exist anymore, and it kind of never did.
Yeah.
The glamour of old school Hollywood was never attainable. It
Yeah.
was a facade and a fantasy
Yep.
from the get go. But this movie starts out with two characters who kind of idolize the history of film and the history of jazz. The history of jazz is also
It's not
rotten.
monolithic.
It's not
No,
There's a
monolithic.
By design.
huge development over the course of the 20s and ragtime, and as it progresses into the 50s, 60s, and
And
by
also
the
that
70s, it just like goes a million different directions.
And it was also fraught with racism and classism and a whole bunch of stuff. It was not glamorous and pure. It was artistic expression. Both like old school Hollywood and old school jazz have this kind of pure artistic expression to them, or
And
can.
that's the sort of thing this movie does, is that it jazzes the format of a musical.
like early on, she goes to that summer party, and I'm like, "You're playing Take on Me? Why are you playing? This is a musical." I thought like the format of a musical was like original music. Then I realized, oh, it's diegetic music. Oh, he hates playing licensed music in this musical. Oh, you're making a point with that.
Well,
that was a sour, sharp note that didn't belong here, and you're using it to create a more lush chord.
The movie
That's jazz.
The movie starts out, with like your stereotypical musical number where people are doing ridiculous choreographed dances in a public setting.
Then there's another one where it's like the three
midway
girls-
through the movie, the bright colors recede. They're wearing just normal
A little bit
everyday
after
clothes.
the
Bright
film-
colors on the people recede. The bright colors remain in the
the
lighting.
environment.
Yeah, but in the
and
environment.
it kind of starts to fade after the film they're watching breaks.
Yep.
That's kind of like a turning point in the story, and so the film
Right when they
reel
begin their
burns
relationship.
and breaks, and their relation, it's at the height of their relationship. So that occurred to me as we were talking about. It's like, oh, it does. Oh,
And then everything comes back sort of like in that little flashback of what could have been, like all those aspects of like the bright colors and all
they straight up use like
the theatric, like figurative, like sequences and things like that all comes back, and that's
which
sort
are
of what
all
could
just
have been.
total homages to
singing
they're
old movies.
also
Yeah.
flat 2D props that are obviously fake.
Yeah, that's sort of that Art Nouveau style, which is not interesting tie together because she went to Paris and all that stuff. So it's interesting they brought that design element into it. I appreciated that. But yeah, the use, I was like really paying attention to how they used color throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing from the foreground into the background and then back into the foreground again, I found very clever. Also, yeah, like the music. Now in musicals, I'd say there's like the old timey musical. People are used to like sort of your theater kid musical, where like every story beat there's some sort of song associated with it. This one, the songs are less narrative and more thematic. They sort of like they're recurring themes that resolve at the end of the movie in more in the style
that are
of the old
recapitulated
musicals.
all together at the epilogue.
More in the style of the old musicals, like you see in Singing in the Rain. They have like kind of in a similar fashion to their Dance in the Observatory and Singing in the Rain. There's this whole sequence where they're in an abandoned movie studio doing a dance number together. Or in Sound of Music, like at the intermission or at the end of the movie, there's sort of like these little themes and notes of like the major musical numbers.
The overtures.
The overtures from earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
They kind of do that with their song. Was it City Lights? Is that what it's called?
City of Stars.
City of
so
Stars,
their
that's what it
theme,
was.
me and Sebastian's theme, is a different track than City of Stars. Me and Sebastian's theme is the piano thing that Sebastian plays.
Yep. And is that the one he's like playing on repeat in his car? Like
No,
he keeps
that's the
rewinding
one
tape?
that he plays in J.K. Simmons' Christmas Time Club.
Yep.
And at the end as Mia walks in.
Yep. That's right.
And at various other points.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I love the most about this movie is the way that it uses the musical themes to like tell stories and to like provide background context and fill in. Like there's points at which City of Stars is reprised before it's ever played.
Yep.
In just like little sequences as they're walking through the Warner Brothers lot. Like the little melodic line from City of Stars plays. Yes.
Yep. The one of my favorite lines. I'm not usually super good at picking out lyrics of songs right off the bat. You have to listen to them a few times. But when Mia's doing her audition and she's singing about her aunt who, is implied that she was like an alcoholic and eventually died, but she lived like this sort of large life where, she traveled Paris, then she brought stories back to her that she taught. But like, something about liquor, and then
she lived
died
in her liquor.
She died
with a flicker.
And I'll always remember the flame.
Always remember
I was like, ooh, that's some
the
good-
flame.
that's a-
That whole
that's-
song is
that's good
so
poetry,
good.
right?
That's
there.
a good. Her audition song, super good character piece.
Because she starts just like narrating it, and then she just starts singing, which is sort of revealing the impact that Sebastian's had on her. Almost. Well,
It's a musical, and
Yeah,
they
it's a
know they're in a musical.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's what that scene is.
But also, it's like the first proper musical number in a long bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Since City of Stars, really. I mean, that's not even really a musical number.
They're just having a
Since
little
like
duet in their living room.
the what's it called? I should know the name of this. The one at the beginning. Someone in the crowd. Yeah.
But it's like at the end as she's realizing her dream, right? There's this the musical bit comes back to the story as she's coming to terms with
She leaves
actually
Sebastian in
actualizing
the
her
other
dream.
room, and he just sort of lets her, lets fate take her where it may, as she's auditioning.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the other things about ultimately Sebastian where he lands is he does open his jazz club, but it's still not his ideal jazz club he wanted to. It's not called Chicken on a Stick.
Nor is it in the old building
Nor
that
is
he
it-
wanted it in.
Yep.
It is in. I think it's meant to be suggestive of the building in which they met.
Yep.
Right.
It has that same kind of red outline
With the awning on the outside.
block glass thing out there.
Yeah.
But it's more of a hole in the wall thing, and he uses the name that Mia suggested because Seb's place
With a little musical note as the apostrophe.
because
that
it's
she drew on
more
a little piece of
catchy.
paper.
Who's gonna go
And it's
listen
also
to jazz
an
and eat
homage
chicken?
to her. Like, this is your impact on my life. This is how I've allowed you to change me.
Yep.
So I thought like where he landed at the end was like that's a really kind of satisfying spot for him.
Oh, the Three Stooges are here.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, not the actual ones.
Uh,
This is what happens when you record in your dining room.
when people drop in the day before with only
Well, yeah, I knew there.
Yeah,
Anyway, moving on. Any other cool things we wanted to talk about before we wrap up with
I have
the...
so many, but we can't fit them all in here.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there's stuff that'll fit into like...
you
the-
just
the
come
other-
find me. I will continue to
Brandon
gush
will
about it.
regale you with more praises of La La Land.
So
I'm sure we will talk more about it when we're done
but
recording.
when we get into the truth,
because we'll be heading out to watch Spider-Verse in a little while.
yeah, that's to date this movie. Or this episode.
Yeah. So I guess we can go
So that's-
into the analysis then.
Transcendentals.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
truth.
Why
What,
don't we?
what truths can we find in La La Land?
There is a relationship between love and dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And the exact nature of that is not, you can't really nail that down. Like, there has to be give and take, there has to be push and
there's a
pull.
tension between the two.
You have to sacrifice either way, no matter what you choose, but there's something also really good about that.
Oh,
There's
you-
something totally nonsensical, like from a logical, analytic point of view, like, this is all asinine.
Yeah.
But there's something also very human about
Yeah.
it.
And like,
The romanticism of dreams, as if you will.
Yeah.
and it's a good to be aspired to, but it's not without compromise and sacrifice to
Yeah.
get to it. And it's never going to look ideal. And also, what are you going to lose along the way if you only chase that?
Because
Right.
everyone can look back at a point in their life where, it's like, okay, if I'd made all the right decisions, I could have had my dreams in balance with, whatever it is that
Right.
I loved.
But that's not
But
real
that's
life.
not how life works. You
It
have
kind
to
of points
choose-
out the connection that Benedict XVI talks about in Deus Caritas Est, which is like the unified movement of love. Eros pulls us toward things, like it
Mhm.
moves us, it draws us out of ourselves into the other.
Yeah.
And then from that kind of apex, from that peak, you get agape, which
Mhm.
descends into self-gift.
Yeah.
So it's a unified movement of moving up and out and then moving down and in. So that's kind of what is happening. Like, they're being drawn into each other, and then they're having to make sacrifices, and ultimately they choose what they choose. Maybe they
Yeah.
regret some of the choices they made, but that's what love is. It demands giving up something, but it also necessarily involves this being drawn toward, because that's where the energy for it comes from.
Yeah. So it's interesting too that Mia ends up with like she gets married and has a family and all that stuff, and Sebastian doesn't. But he's, sort of married to his music, I guess you could say, in the films, the way the film presents it. And he stays, he's all the memorabilia he has around his apartment at the beginning of the movie is like displayed prominently in his club.
The way he
he's got-
told his sister it would be when he got his club.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, I guess what else is true?
I think that was the biggest true point the movie's
Do
trying
y'all
to
like
make.
jazz?
You like
You
jazz?
like jazz?
Doesn't he say that at one point? In the
No,
movie?
he says you don't like jazz.
Oh, you don't like jazz. That's right. Which naturally got us to immediately retort. You like jazz? Goodness. What is good in La La Land?
Ultimately, a lot of the characters are working in their self-interest throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Right? There is that affection they have for each other, and they do support each other in some of their lowest points.
Mm-hmm.
But and they do grow over the course of the film to make good decisions for the good of others and not just themselves.
Yep.
But there's kind of a self-destructive nature of purely chasing dreams that they kind of highlight.
Yeah, they both have to grapple with in their own ways. With the Sebastian and his selling out creatively.
It's love. That's all we're looking for is love
Yep.
from someone else.
Is it?
And they know it.
Yeah.
And they know that's all they really want at the end of the day. But
Mhm.
do they really follow it? No.
Not
No.
all the time.
So,
So there is goodness in it. It's just there's no single character or single actions that purely embody good, because it's always
I think the
tarnished
goodness-
by some other mistake they've made.
I think the goodness is them finding, having the courage to take responsibility for the directions they took in their lives.
Mhm.
Because in that fight,
Which
they
is
have,
heart-wrenching, but
Yeah, it's heart wrenching. But that fight
yeah,
they have
like-
in the middle of the movie, they're sort of blaming each other for the fact they haven't achieved their dreams. But
they're blaming each other for the fact that the other hasn't achieved their dream.
yeah, that's true.
Because
They're
they
trying to-
actually genuinely care that the other person
You
loves
used
what.
to have dreams.
Do you like the music you're
Well,
playing?
you used to have dreams.
He just like dodges the question. It's like because clearly he doesn't, and they both know it, but he doesn't want to admit it.
He's good at it because he's overqualified for the job.
Yeah. He's playing with one hand
He's
behind
like,
his-
do you like
literally
the
with one
music?
hand behind
Well,
his back.
yeah. I just didn't think you did.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like when she doesn't want to do the audition, he's like, "What? Like you don't make any sense. You're such a baby. You're supposed to have dreams." Yeah.
But that's like pretty much the sum of the goodness in that film. It's just very, very flawed by human nature and human mistakes.
It is a very
And
human
by
movie.
nonsense.
And by
Yes.
just
They allow the nonsense to invade their lives.
Yeah. In a very Los Angelian way.
Correct.
indeed. L.A.
L.A.
land.
land.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
L.A. N.D.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Los Angeles,
Angeles.
North Dakota.
Indeed.
The Los Angeles, North Dakota.
Yeah. Beauty. Lots of beauty in this movie.
So much.
Very well put together sequences.
The score is brilliant.
Like, the score is really well put together. The choreography is like very old school, but like there's also points where it's kind of not. I've noticed, but probably more on the Unity side, but like there's a lot of ways it is both an homage to and a critique of.
Yes. And the fact that it manages to hold those things so perfectly together
In balance.
is just like how you're too good at this, Damien Chazelle.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's Unity. I should
Because
talk about
that's
that later.
sort of what
But, like-
movies end up doing. Is they're either a satire or like a critique of something without, or
Rather
they
Without
are like a
acknowledging
pure
what's good about
nostalgia bait celebration.
But
Very
in ter-
few manage to hold those two in tension well.
But
And
in
this
terms of
movie
beauty,
manages
this
to do that.
it.
the
The
use
color.
of color.
Oh, they just
the
use
use of
color
color is
so
really
dang well.
Yeah.
Like different characters kind of have different colors that represent them and what they're going through in a lot of ways. The saturation of the color in the characters versus the world they're in. Like it's very, very bright and colorful and very like Technicolor presented in
I suppose, would you say
Technicolor.
like, them wearing their bright colors and stuff at the beginning of the movie is like sort of symbolizing their,
Naive optimism.
naive optimism and the belief that they have control over their lives, whereas later in the movie, the colorful lights are on them. Life is happening to them. They don't feel as much in control. And at the end of the movie, they're both wearing sort of more subdued colors in that they're acknowledging that, life sort of,
Behind these hills, I'm reaching for the heights and
Yes.
chasing all the lights that shine.
yes.
And when they let you down, you'll get up off the ground.
Yep.
and when they let you down.
And when they let you down.
Yeah.
When morning
And-
rolls around, it's another day of sun.
And like watching the film, there's like a lot going on in any given musical number, so I'm not always taking in all the lyrics. But like if I went back and listened, I'm like, I bet the storytelling would get a layer deeper if I just
Oh, it does.
paid more attention to what they were saying. Whether
Especially
it was
the
foreshadowing
John Legend song.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Unity, what brings everything together?
It kinda-
La La Land.
La La
la
Land.
la 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 la.
But it's like I said before, it's this celebration and critique of both the musical genre, the old school, like, golden age of Hollywood, the musical, but also of Los Angeles and the film industry itself.
And the music
The
industry.
music industry, yeah, because those are
Because
both.
they're very
I mean,
much-
Damien Chazelle's a big jazz fan. You just have to watch Whiplash to be able to
Yeah.
ascertain
Yeah.
that.
Is that the
so-
same director?
Same director.
Oh, well, that'll do it. I haven't seen Whiplash yet. I ought to.
It's pretty good. I liked it. I mean, even if it's not the most realistic depiction of a jazz professor.
Sure.
You're not
I've
gonna-
only ever seen the memes of
Oh, yeah.
J.K. Simmons.
Not my tempo.
It is probably J.K. Simmons' best role that I've seen him in. I don't think that a lot of people would argue with that.
It even beats Cave Johnson.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you actually see him.
But yeah, it's like it knows exactly what it wants to be, and it is that kind of to the max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's and it plays with the musical formula. Like we said, it's like first they start introducing non-original music, and then they just stop being a musical and just a normal drama for like a third of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays with your expectations with it, while also delivering on what you want from a old school musical, which that's kind of a problem some projects have, and they're like, oh, we're going to subvert your expectations and then not deliver. And it's like, I came to
Which
this
is
movie
embodied in jazz as a musical form.
Yep.
Because it's subversive while also being
exactly
coherent.
what you want.
While
Right.
having conventions.
Well,
It subverts the expectations of common practice period chord progressions.
And like we mentioned earlier, the movie jazzes
with the musical.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
the movie jazzes musicals in that way. It, like, there's conventions and expectations from a musical that it plays with, disrupts, and still delivers at
And
the end.
it lands on a cohesive
Musical note.
chord.
Yeah.
It's like it gets messy and funky in the middle, but like the beginning notes and the end notes are the 1 and the 5. It lands where it needs to.
There are several major story beats that happen with no music whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciated the movie with that, because a lot of musicals sometimes there's a lot of music and then occasionally the movie happens.
Yeah.
This one, it's all part of the same
It's all over the place.
story. Yeah.
It's all the same thing. Yeah.
So I really appreciated it.
This podcast is all the same thing.
Yeah.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
So
Where could they hear more of all the same thing if they wanted to?
Yeah. Well, we have our Twitch stream at Palapapus on Twitch.
that television.
Yeah, at twitch.tv/Palapapus. You can also find us on Twitter, and, well, nobody uses Facebook, but we're there also at Palapapus.
And then the rest of the podcast that we recorded a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, you can find our podcasts on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and
Maybe
whatever
YouTube
Google has.
someday.
Yeah, maybe YouTube.
I mean, odds are if you're
coming
listening,
soon to a tube near you.
if you're listening to this podcast on a place, odds are there's more of this podcast on a place.
Yeah, we're still on Stitcher. Shout out to Nathan's mom who still listens on Stitcher.
we know you're listening, Mom.
Yep.
I love
So
you.
we'll keep it there entirely for your sake. And yeah, that's pretty much. I have the whole script, but I don't have it with me, and we basically covered the major points. So we will be back in the next episode whenever that happens, hopefully soon. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Sure does.
See ya.
Oh wait! We have to explain. We have to.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we do
We're
not.
going to.
We have to
No,
just
we
give
do
them the
not.
riddle.
We're
We
not
just
going
have
to
give
explain
them
it.
the
We have
riddle.
to tell the joke.
This is the bonus. The bonus.
Bonus
Yeah,
content.
bonus
Bonus
content.
Make a bumper for bonus content.
Yeah, bonus content. We're not giving it away. We're going to tell it. Okay, all right. So, 2 penguins are canoeing in the desert.
No.
Huh?
No. The
Cut. We're
wording
gonna cut
is
that.
specific.
We're gonna cut that.
What?
That's-
What?
Cut.
Oh, okay.
So you have to cut this part.
2 penguins are canoeing in the desert. One says to the other, "Where's your paddle?" The other one says, "Sure does."
Sure does.
See if you figure
Sure
out.
does.
Sure does. So figure out
Figured out.
Figured out.
Figured out.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Sweat.